Enes Nain with another video, now with how to draw the rib cage in perspective. But first, I would like to remember that this video is a part of a playlist about the human figure in perspective. And the links on my Instagram and the Discord server of the channel are available in the video description. When it comes to draw the human figure, the rib cage represents one of the main parts of the body, because we can use the rib cage as a reference point to other elements. To draw the rib cage in perspective, I use a box as my base, using the logic from the previous videos of the playlist, with the goal to turn the comprehension easier. I made animations. We'll use a rectangular box as a base to represent the rib cage in perspective. Our goal is to be able to draw the rib cage in any position or angle in perspective. As a way to make sure that my measurements will be correct in any perspective, I use the technique of dividing dimensions. To the frontal part, I just divide one time. On the back part, I divide it 2 times. With this, I will be able to place my box in any angle, degree in perspective, maintaining my measurements. My goal isn't to go deeply into anatomy. I'm just showing an approximation to a real rib cage using my point of view. I use different planes to represent the rib cage. In blue, I represented the frontal plane of our rib cage, where is located the sternum. The next plane is on the frontal part of our rib cage, but slightly tilted to the side plane. In yellow, represents the frontal part of our ribs. We also have the side plane, represented in purple. There is linked to the previous plane, representing the ribs on the side view. In green, we have the bottom part of the rib cage. In red, we have the representation of the top plane of our rib cage. We also have the back plane of our rib cage represented in blue. I prefer to represent the back as one plane to simplify the comprehension, but in reality we have more planes on the back. With that, we have all the planes required to draw our rib cage in perspective. As a way to turn this easier to understand, I selected some references. First, we need to understand how the rib cage really behaves on a human figure. In blue, I drew the box. In red, I represented the planes that I previously covered. With that, I started drawing my box, and I used the techniques to divide dimensions, dividing the frontal part 1 time and the back part 2 times. And I also applied the logic of the planes to be able to put this accurately in perspective. You can see that I use the middle of the frontal part as my reference to extend all the other planes. And I use the second division of the back plane as another reference to connect the frontal part to the back part. We have another reference in a different angle. First, in blue, I started drawing my box in perspective. In red, I did the same thing that I did previously, searching for the planes and start connecting. And I used the same logic to draw the rib cage, starting with the box and start connecting the planes that I explained. You can see that with this technique we are able to draw the rib cage in different perspectives and different angles. We have another example. In a back view, I started drawing my box in blue and I started searching the planes in red. And I used the same logic to draw the rib cage. So this is the logic that I use to draw the rib cage in perspective. Summarizing, I start with a rectangular box. I divide the frontal part 1 time and the back part 2 times. And the next step is just use the landmarks as a connection points. If I helped, consider subscribing to the channel, enable the bell, and also give a like. If you play Fortnite, Rocket League, or another game on the Epic Games Store that have the support a creator option, consider supporting me. My code is EneasGFN23. So thank you, until the next video, bye bye.